No, you're right, though. I
Practice
mean,
those, though.
all aspects of the game are needed, right? And if you want to get good at reading the disc and making big plays, you need to be able to catch the disc in high-pressure situations.
Bogart will be tapping it in here. Bogart on the mark. High pressure catch. Bogart now looking for the end zone. And that is reeled in by Duran. 3-2 for Titane.
Troy, that might have been number 15, Marek Lavarenne, that actually came down in the goal there. So just in case, if that is true, we'll give both of them credit on the stream. So we're not missing anybody. Now I'm listening to Coach, one of the coaches, Coach Karomi over there on the KHAOS side. He just said to his D-line, 4 turns in that point, boys, that's a win. And that's something that, for all I'm saying to the D-line there, I'm like, no, don't take that impulsive shot. Work your handlers, get it in the end zone. D-line's job is to make it hard for the other team's O-line, and they are going to get some. Mm-hmm. No matter what you do as a D-line, offensive lines are going to score against you. Sometimes it comes down to how they score against you. 4 turnovers?
It's a win for the defense if they get 1 turnover in a point. So getting 4 turnovers for a defensive line, that's giving themselves lots of chances. That I would be congratulating the team as well. That's huge.
For a second-year team, I'm loving the score right now, 3-2. Punching up right now after winning their pool yesterday in the second tier and then punching up against the first-tier team right now. And with this score, this energy, really loving how this is working out. So looks like KHAOS is going to put their offensive line back out there. Players we've seen making big differences on offense for them. And
we're still up a break with Titane right now, though, correct?
Yes.
They've gotten 2 breaks.
Thank you, yeah.
KHAOS has only come back with 1 break. So Titane is up 1 point and up a break.
Now, I imagine we're going to see that rabbit wall again. That is 1 player coming down and always setting up on the thrower, and then 3 players kind of forming a wall. With the wind starting to pick up, Titane to our left right now is currently on the harder side of the field, the harder side to score on. Titane's at an advantage here because the conditions are going to play against KHAOS in this point.
That Kaepernick with a pull that will sail out of bounds, meaning KHAOS will get to bring it to the center of the field at the brick mark.
Yeah, pulls like I do.
You need to practice more, Clay.
that is not what they say in Victoria. They say stop touching it.
Okay, maybe that. McMaster picking up the disc for KHAOS. Now, what's your opinion on wearing sunglasses on the field?
I don't like it. I rely a lot on eye contact.
Me too.
And so I need that for my play. Perhaps when you play with someone that is wearing sunglasses frequently, you get used to their body language.
Claxton with the huck for KHAOS. Trusting his receiver downfield. Faulkner with the grab. Resets the disc then rather than trying to force it. So that's maybe a difference between the O and the D line here for KHAOS.
Second time
Claxton now looking for something off the sideline. Finds Dunnett. Over to Karomi. Oh, but we got a defensive play by Lancey out there for Titane. Knocks it out of the air. You can't teach tall, Clay.
Can't teach tall.
Beck Haverneck streaking up the line to catch it back. Huge overarching cross field flick, but just out of the reach of his player. And Plaxton will huck it right back downfield. Is that going to come back in? Yes, it will. Oh my God, what a huge grab from McMaster. Linda Kudo, the observer, calling that inbounds. That was incredible, Clay.
See, now this travel call, I think, is real.
picky?
bad because, well, he said you got to take it on the line, and I'm like, no, he doesn't. He just got up. He was never out of bounds. He landed in bounds. So I don't really get what he's saying. Perhaps from his perspective, he was on the line and rolled out of bounds. But right now, I mean, like McMaster with that amazing pickup, from my perspective, he never touched the blue line. And then as he's getting
No,
up to
I
call
don't
a
think
travel
so.
and say, you didn't move your foot 6 inches over to where I thought your back was on the ground, I'm like, is that necessary? Not really. He didn't make a throw right away. So this is one of those things where I'm like, no advantage gained by McMaster if there was any kind of travel here. So this is the one with that new rule I really disagree with.
I agree. And it looks like the observer, Glenn Ford, is having the Titane players back up to where they were when the travel was called, or when the travel occurred, so that there isn't an advantage for the defense either. McMaster will retain possession. Travel's not a turnover regardless.
That grab, though.
I mean,
Wow.
you never give up on the disc, and that's exactly why. Like, you think it's going to be maxed out of bounds? No. Second chances, second efforts. McMaster taking it in from the crowd. I mean, he should be pumped about that catch. He really should be.
Seems to be more to the discussion here. Some of the players were trying to let me know that there's more going on. So we're just going to wait and see how this rolls out. The players who were first involved with that defensive play before McMaster caught it, I think are discussing whether or not there was a foul. However, based on their position on the field right now, Troy, that means they played on.
Yes.
If there was a foul call, they'd be right here with McMaster. So again, I'm like, well, yeah, you guys can discuss that after. It looks like you committed to playing on, because if you're that far down on the field, why are we talking about a foul right now? If McMaster caught it, then we kept playing and a foul called after. So Kudo ruling that there was no foul anyway, so it'll stay with McMaster. But it seems to me that foul call should have been made in the instant play stops. You can't say, oh, he got it. Well, I guess I'll call foul.
Yeah, no retroactive second thoughts there. I mean, I get it, because sometimes it does take a minute for your brain to register, did something wrong just happen? Should I have called something back then? And so, by the time you actually register that you should have, it may be too late.
And players in this division are encouraged to ask.
Totally.
Right? It's a junior division. I mean, I don't know all the rules, and I've been playing way too long.
Players in any division are encouraged to ask. Masters division.
A little bit more salty when people ask.
I mean, yeah, you probably should know by then, but I mean, I'd rather people ask than just pretend to know something wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. So
in any case, McMaster will come in with the disc on the sideline here for KHAOS, now that the players are all back in the correct position. Titane opting to set up their really powerful zone right outside the brick mark. McMaster forcing to throw some kind of weird garbage into the end zone. Lots of bodies in the end zone. That's tough. There will be, it looks like, an injury on that play.
So there was a collision, and we just got a spirit timeout called by Linda Kudo, observer Linda Kudo. So she made the T symbol upside down and said spirit timeout. So probably to do with the fact that everybody's looking at that disc coming down high up in the air. And there wasn't regard given to the fact of, let's say, from some players, if I make a play on this, I do have to have a look at where everybody else is.
Yeah.
I can't just tunnel vision the disc, go for it, and cause a blindside collision on the back of someone's neck or head. So it looks like there will be a meeting between captains or teams just to talk about that. Trying to be that athletic is cool, but you also have to watch out for safety, especially head safety. So I imagine that's where this is going.
Probably. I mean, I did see, while Linda was calling the spirit timeout downfield, we saw Captain McMaster and Erazo here closer to us, just kind of having a few laughs, giving each other high fives. So clearly it's not the entire teams that are getting a little heated. And it might not even be heated. It might just be to take a minute to realize where your body is when you go up for those discs. Last year in Brampton, what we saw in the juniors division was a higher amount of concussions than any of the other divisions. And because it was windy, and the junior players are just not quite as aware of their bodies yet, in regards to space, in regards to where other people are, and so it resulted in a higher amount of concussions in the wind because they're all looking up for that disc and they're not looking at the other players and where everyone is.
Yeah, spirit of awareness. I mean, it's a thing, right? These players do have to watch out for each other's safety in a sense, and I have not heard at all any animosity between these teams on the sideline, on the field, or anything like that. I think this is more like, hey, teams, we need to think about protecting each other's heads a little bit, okay? And that is a spirited thing to do because we don't want anybody to get hurt. So I think the discussion right now is more just like, how do we make sure that while we play extremely athletically, we all stay safe, and what adjustments do we need to make to do that? And you know what, this is a really smart spirit timeout to call, I think. Troy, are spirit timeouts usually initiated by the observer?
I've not seen that before, but I don't see why not. You can see the spirit captains, Dunnett and Gauthier, just chatting things over right now with the observers in between. It looks like they're having a reasonable conversation, which is great to see. I think in junior level it would probably be a little bit more common for the observers to call it spirit timeout, just because maybe you're not quite this is their first big tournament for a lot of these players, or their second big tournament, maybe their first one being regionals. So it's they're not used to playing at this high level, this intensity, and spirit timeouts might be a newer thing for them.
Here's a question. Does the game clock stop?
Here's an answer. Yes, it does.
Aha. So
spirit timeouts do not affect the game clock at all. So the game clock completely pauses here, just so they can take a spirit timeout to make sure everything is going forward, and it doesn't penalize either team in any way, shape, or form by counting that clock down.
So with that in mind, we will try and do a little homework in halftime or before halftime, and just try and find out from observers Kudo and Ford what the new caps will be, because that'll push when the time for the halftime cap, that'll push the time for the hard cap of the game. So what we think we know of when the cap's going to go on, or what you might have prepared, is done. And we've got a photo op here. A Titane photographer initiating a photo op with KHAOS here as they work it out in their spirit timeout. So based on that happening, Troy, I think this is going to end in a positive way. Teams are going to have it figured out. We see some handshakes going around here. So and then it looks like they're going to do a circle up and just have a quick summary of what the spirit captains and observers talked about to get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, and sometimes with teams like this, if they're having discussions on the field, it can be slightly of a language barrier, just because if your first language is English or your first language is French and you're trying to explain your point of view, it can really be, and your emotions are high, that's pretty hard to translate something in your head to try to explain it. And your frustration could be to not just of what happened on the play, but your frustration could also just be for yourself not being able to express what you want to express in that language. So I can definitely understand that is something that can happen on the field as well.
It adds a layer. I mean, I get into spirit discussions with English on English, and I still can't express myself properly.
That's true. Fun fact that while most of the conversation and most calls happen in English, you can actually count stall counts in French and English here in Canada. That's part of the CUC tournament manual. It's not obviously in the USAU rules that we typically follow for the tournament, but counting in French and English is one exception that Canada inputs into their tournaments, because we do have two national languages.
So, French-speaking teams, if you're listening, we expect you to flex that now as you play in this tournament, or if you're playing in the seniors in a few days. We want to hear some counts in French. Assert yourself.
I mean, English teams could count in French too.
That's true. They should try. Once in a while.
I can count to 10.
Oh, yeah. So can I. I mean, I heard the excuse the other day. Someone said they didn't know how, and I'm like,
don't you learn that in kindergarten, even at an English-speaking school?
I think you could learn pretty quick.
Yeah.
But
probably learn it in about 10 seconds.
Nice. So discussion ongoing. Looks to be okay. With the spirit timeout, obviously, we never know how long these are going to last. The goal is to reach a positive resolution, not say, hey, let's take a 5-minute timeout. Everybody sit in the corner and collect yourself.
Mm-hmm. Well, while we've got this break, it's probably a good idea to remind people of our sponsors that we have.
Oh, yeah.
We have some really great sponsors for this tournament. Discraft, who provides all of the discs for the tournament. They're really great partner to work with. And their discs are always top quality. And they're for sale if you want to buy one tournament disc. In the merch tent, our apparel partner being Be Ultimate, providing all of the merchandise and apparel for the tournament this year. And there's a big old tent if you want to buy some merch. They've got shirts and pants, shorts. They've got gloves, socks, hats, and the disc with all of the CUC logo on it, our official merchandise partner. So huge thank you to those sponsors.
Players getting back into position. There was an injury call, and I believe there's one sub. KHAOS looks like they're not going to take any injury subs, but there was one player unfortunately, I didn't see who for Titane who subbed off.
Danny and I were just talking about this yesterday about how if one team takes an injury sub, like it's always in the best interest for the other team to do it as well, so you have fresh legs. However, after such a long time out, I feel like this would be an exception where you wouldn't really need to.
Yeah, you've had your rest, right? So you're probably fresh at this point.
I'm just trying to figure out. I believe it's going to be Titane's disc, but I'm not 100% sure because there was a little bit of discussion and call right before the spirit timeout was called because of that big collision in the end zone. I'm not sure if the collision affected the play. If it didn't affect the play, Titane will have the turn. Actually, now it looks like there was a stall down on the throw, but it was a retracted call is what those hand signals from Linda Kudo is signaling. So it will be a down disc, Titane's disc. Thank you, observers, for making clear hand signals so us in the commentator booth can interpret that for the crowd. Gauthier now with the disc. Beck Havernick. Up the sideline. Lancio. Towed the line by Arazo. Gauthier again. They're really forcing it down this sideline. Arazo opts for the swing, opening up some space. Lancio 10 yards from the end zone, back to the brick line now, though. And a little give go and puts a score. Gauthier to Arazo. It is now 4-2 for Titane.
What a great grab there by Felix Lancio.
Oh, was that Lancio with the score?
Elevating and just good presence of mind there to bring those knees up, thrust his feet forward there to get in as he was just right on the line. The energy after that long spirit timeout, both teams, though, still in it, right? No one's got their head down and fizzled out here. Both teams being quite loud, even after getting scored on. KHAOS cheering for each other, high-fiving. That was a break. It's 4-2 now, so the offensive line for KHAOS stays on. I think that's just about the same. No, we got one or two subs, but just about the same line as last time.
Mm-hmm. You saw Coach Keith Karomi coming out with KHAOS, just chatting with the line as they walked on. Keith Karomi and Dan McMaster, two of the coaches for KHAOS, Bruce Plaxton being the third, but Keith and Dan Karomi and McMaster are spearheading the juniors ultimate kind of league and team from the Grand Forks area. And for those of you that don't know BC very well, Grand Forks is a very small town, very small. And for them to have like a thriving juniors program is so amazing. Love it. Great hanging pull, giving Titane, again, lots of time to come down in their cup. Their rabbit wall. McMaster back to Karomi. Hammer over the top to the other side of the field. Done it, able to catch that. Bryant, coach calling on the line for a dump swing. Very smart move, worked like a charm. McMaster now. Bryant again, who seems to be doing a good job finding some holes in that cup, helping those handlers out. McMaster on the sideline, an overarching huck down the field, looking for, he was looking for, I think, sorry, there's a bit of an injury.
Looks like he got hit in the nose there. I believe that is number, hard to see. Erazo, I think that's number 1.
Yeah, that's Erazo.
Yeah, and looks like he just needed a minute to collect himself on the foul there. Didn't want like a delay of game or stall count to start.
Oh, no, that was actually, that was Gauthier. Took his hat off and he looked, with the blonde hair, looked like Erazo. Oh, and it doesn't give up on the disc. Beck Haverneck bringing that one down on, I think, the 3rd attempt. Little give go from Erazo to Beck Haverneck. Gauthier up the line. Titane really likes to force it down that forced sideline. Feel like if I was KHAOS, I might switch the force up to see how they handle that. Beck Haverneck. Benoit. Erazo. Beck Haverneck again. A hammer over the top for the score and another break for Titane.
That extends their lead to 5-2. The offense for Titane, they're not seeming to have any issues working that up, except for that one errant throw. But Beck Haverneck coming to the rescue. I want to talk about KHAOS's offense at that point. So there, we like you said, we heard the coach from KHAOS Dad Squad there, just yelling dump swing, dump swing. And we did see KHAOS move the disc laterally a lot more. They even broke through the cup a few times, but every time the disc got to a player that wasn't covered, there was no continue. Even if it there was a 10-yard pass right up the line, and that at that point there were 5 or 6 defenders behind the lateral plane of the disc. Those 4 people in the cup, and then the 2 wings were out of position. And the deep was really the only one down the field who could see what was happening. And the KHAOS players, the 2 or 3 that were also deep, did not come under immediately to get that continue going, putting all those defenders out of position. They held it and looked for a dump because they didn't have a continue, and which let Titane's defense, that cup, catch up and get back on. So we need to see, to disrupt this zone, KHAOS needs to have players in position to sort of cascade, to time their cuts, to come under, so that throws can cascade once they get one through the cup. Without that right now, they're getting gains, but they're getting locked down over and over and over again. And that resulted in a huck that, once again, wasn't to a moving target.
It was not. It was to a waiting target, which also meant he had a waiting defender who was able to grab that out of the air. It's it may seem counterintuitive to newer players when you're playing in a zone, but when you see the disc moving down the field, you want to come towards the disc instead of running away from it. You see the disc coming to you, your instinct is to run away because you want to get further and further down the field. Really, you need to come towards it in a zone so you can find that open space and a continuation pass, just as Clay says. And that is that's something that KHAOS is definitely missing at this moment.
So KHAOS took a timeout here. Oh, it's halftime. I'm sorry. Didn't take a timeout.
Oh, it is halftime.
We are in half. So you know what? We will probably step away and take a break.
Yeah. Do we have time? They look like they're walking to the field. We have 3 minutes. Okay, let's take a 1-minute break here, Clay.
Okay, we'll be back with you in 1 minute. Maybe do a little homework in the meantime.
Find out when the time caps now are. And we are back on Tuesday morning here at Newton Athletic Park in sunny BC. The wind slightly mild this morning. We just finished halftime with our crossover match of in the junior boys division, Titane from Montreal versus KHAOS from Kelowna and Grand Forks. Titane up 5-2. And I'm here with Clay. We're really enjoying this game so far. It's been a lot of exciting plays.
Yeah, we had the observers come over in halftime, let us know that they're feeling like this is an action-packed game, and I mean it is. There have been some incredible plays this game. We did experience a spirit timeout to talk about just some collisions. But, yeah, excited for the second half.
And just for the viewers to know, because of that spirit timeout, the time has been increased, and the time cap will now be at 10 o'clock. And we see our first turnover from Titane of the second half. Up the line throw to a lot of waiting defenders. Just kind of had some blinders on for that one cutter and then overthrew him, unfortunately. So Titane will get the disc back. Berard now. And Titane showing they've got that jam it up the jam line perfected as they continue to do that. It looks like KHAOS did switch up the force to a backhand. Back to Berard in the middle, but throws it out of Obella's reach, and KHAOS will get another chance. Maybe that backhand force did have something to do with that, and just switching it up a little bit. Pick was called downfield, so there just will be a little bit of a pause as players reset.
So KHAOS here. I'll say it again. Decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Hit your moving targets. Use your handlers. Use your cutters coming under.
Romain tries to hit Singh, who just bobbles it a little bit. So I believe that's Mayo that brings that down for Titane. Up the line cuts there from Berard again.
Yeah, pick call.
Observer just making sure she knows what the count is so she can signal it to the players downfield. Berard with an over-the-top throw to Obella into the end zone for a goal. 6-2 for Titane.
Titane's offense at point, and I've noticed this has actually been happening with the other Quebec team, Origine. Maybe Titane hates me now for even bringing it up, but I've noticed a trend, and that is the small ball offense they play between their handlers really takes advantage of 3 to 8 yard passes right in front of the thrower. And what we haven't seen from KHAOS here is any sort of adjustment to stop that. And when I was watching the open division yesterday, both Origine and Titane struggled to run that offense that they like when teams would front them. Now, I don't know if this is a different style that is being played in Quebec for dumps and handler movement, which it could be. But specifically to Titane and this KHAOS game, the handlers are getting on these one-on-ones, and all they have to do is beat their check any way they want to, right? They're just taking advantage of what's being left open in the face guard. While what KHAOS could do is work as a team and have 2 or 3 players not exactly do a cup, but sort of stand in the lanes, front their guy and say, I'm going to front my guy on the left of the thrower. You front your guy on the right of the thrower. That way, if we can do a switch or anything like that. But since it's just these one-on-ones with no real strategy except, well, it looks like stick your guy, right? Just stick on him. Titane's just winning that athletic battle.
And all they're doing is up the line cut after up the line cut. If they stuck someone in that lane, then that would cut that down. Like, that's all they really need to do. I mean, we say that on the sideline like it's simple.
Oh yeah, obviously.
But the reason I think we're seeing that from these Quebec teams is because Quebec actually plays a lot of 4-on-4, and they play it more often than they play 7-on-7.
Oh,
because it's it's winter there for longer than here in BC, where we get the, especially in Vancouver, we get the luxury of playing outdoors all year round. They don't have that luxury in the middle of the country. So they play a lot of indoor 4-on-4, which translates to the 7-on-7 field as small ball handler cuts, lots of little movements. And I think we're really seeing that in a lot of these junior teams from Quebec.
That's
like
fascinating.
Titane and Origin. And that pull from Titane is very floaty, but it is going to stay out of bounds. And it looks like we have an offside call from the observer.
So, Troy, I just want to bring up someone because a lot of people don't know a particular rule change. Offside now is only ever on the defense. It doesn't exist for the offense anymore because it's now called a false start for the offense. So if you hear offside, it's against the defense.
So it looks like despite the offside, KHAOS has opted to just take the disc in the middle of the field and carry on. They have to call it, I believe, even though the observer signals it.
They have to say they accept it.
Yeah. And a foul is going to be called by McMaster there on Beck Havernick. Did look like the disc was a little bit behind, both reaching down, but there is no contest on that foul. Yeah. So the disc will stay with McMaster.
I like Beck Havernick asking why and then agreeing. You know, there's no reason you can't say, oh, how'd I foul you? Let me know. And then say, oh, you're right.
Yes, I did. Karomi now looking for an option upfield. Opts for the hammer over the top to Latour. Back to Karomi. Claxton. Again, and over the top to Latour.
Need to see that continue.
Yeah, we're still missing that little key piece in zone offense from KHAOS. Karomi faking, moving the cup around. Plaxton crashing the cup. Dennett back to Plaxton. We've got to see that continue through the cup. Handlers are doing a great job moving it around, giving the downfield some opportunities to find those holes, but we're just not getting that continue. And we have a hand block there from Robin. Beck Havernick picking up the disc now for Titane and calling a timeout. There's been a lot of timeouts in this game.
Really using the timeouts to their advantage.
Yeah, at this point in the game, when we're getting close to time, when you're leading 6-2, you do get a little bit of an advantage, like a time advantage by calling the timeout, giving KHAOS less time to catch up. I mean, you can only do that so many times, but to me, it looked like that might have been why Titane called that one, because I don't see another reason on that in that point. It wasn't a super long point for it to be, for them to be tired, but I could be wrong. Maybe they are. It is getting to be a long game, and we are going to time caps. So we're gonna see Titane on the disc here. Beck Havernick picking it up. What kind of defense do you think we're going to see from KHAOS coming out of this timeout, Clay?
Well, okay. Now I get to see them do it. I hadn't had a thought yet, but we are seeing a match defense here. Titane let us know they run a vertical diagonal. And we're seeing that set up right now. I actually have no idea how it works, so I'm excited to see how this rolls out.
Oh, maybe that's why they called the timeout, so they could set up their vertical diagonal. Gauthier. Oh, a miscommunication between the handlers. Beck Havernick and Gauthier will result in a turnover. Karomi picking it up, immediately going for that pump fake for that deep shot. Bryant back to Karomi. Swing into Plaxton. Handlers again, swing it across the field. Lots of time. Latour now.
You hear from the sideline, from the KHAOS sideline, continuation.
Oh, and that was another defense KHAOS trying to get it through the middle of the cup. Titane getting a bit of a hand on that and not letting that. McMaster doing a good job of cutting off that up the line pass. Had to opt for a scoober over to Gauthier. Up the field, nice tic-tac-toe there. Berard with the disc just outside the end zone for Titane. And an up the line, over the top, pardon me, throw to Titane. 7-2 now for Titane. They're kind of running away with this game.
Yeah, at this point, we've seen end zone, continue just to wreak havoc. And KHAOS is starting to figure it out. However, I think Titane's also realized, hey, they're just figuring it out. And until they actually have the strategy to bust out of this, let's keep it rolling, right? We've seen them be really athletic on match defense, but there is no sense to remove that zone. Instead, Titane can just sit here and sort of refine it, while KHAOS still tries to work out how to get through it.
Well, and I think the one thing that KHAOS has probably picked up on it now is that Titane is really just working the open side. No matter if they're forcing backhand or flick, they're cutting up the line, and they're really that is all they've been looking for, is those handler movements up the line. And if KHAOS parks someone in that lane up the line, they might have a little bit more success getting a few turnovers. It looks like on that last point, it did seem to me that KHAOS was trying to clamp down on those up the line cuts a little bit more, and we saw a few of them cut off. And so they are starting to do that, but it might be too little too late. And the pull from Titane will sail out of bounds. Plaxton will get to bring it to the middle of the field for KHAOS. Titane setting up their cup. No surprise anymore. Not trying to hide it, because it is working for them. Wide open Cromie on the sideline with the big huck. Gauthier streaking down, and he gets a piece of that. That will be a great defense for Gauthier.
Excellent
just in the
defense.
right position. I feel like Cromie just kind of hucked that with no open receiver in mind.
Yeah, I like to see the moving target. We've been talking about that. He did have one, but that was also a throw into coverage, right? So that's also a choice you don't want to make. Hey, but a quick turnover.
An unfortunate drop by Laverne will give KHAOS the disc back right on the end zone line, and it looks like they're setting up a side stack way off to the side. McMaster going for the cut. Plaxton finding him, and a completed catch. KHAOS with their third point of the game. Good conversion on that one.
That was neat. I've never seen that.
The side stack and the back of the stack just coming across?
Yeah, and just a foot race.
Yeah.
But a lot of room. You can get open on the inside. You can get open on the around. That I'm going to steal that. Yeah, that was cool. Although, opportunities to poach against that's a really good, back pocket play that, no one's seen this before. They're like, hey, what are they doing? And you can win that foot race. If that was probably your standard offense, that might be kind of easy to
you could probably only do that
so
many times in a game. But, it's great on KHAOS for having the awareness to set that up off a turn and not off of something like a timeout where they have, the time to get the instructions. They did it right off of just a turn.
Yeah, exactly. Because then the other team could be like, oh, this is interesting, and kind of put players in strategic positions. Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of the same players from KHAOS and Titane taking the field. They're really KHAOS not counting out their chances just yet. They have a bit of a mountain to climb right now with the score being 7-3. But I think they're saying right now, don't rule us out just yet. We've still got some gas in our tank.
22 minutes until the cap by my clock.
Cromie winding up for the pull. Berra. Lots of little give go. Oh! And Phipps gets in the way of that little give go back and forth there between Berra and Berra. So KHAOS now bringing up the disc, and they get to play against a person defense instead of the zone. Not surprising, we see an over-the-top throw from Cromie, but that is brought down by Berra.
Once again, throwing to a receiver that is covered. Didn't really have an open shot there.
Yeah. Titane playing a little small ball, moving it up the field really quickly. A hammer and a diving Giguère manages to keep hold of that one just on the doorstep to the end zone. Berra And a connection in the end zone. And that will be another score for Sui this time on Titane.
Score now 8-3. Good heads up D by Phipps on KHAOS. Okay. And like you were saying earlier, I mean, like KHAOS is clued in to Titane's strategy of just working out the handler up the open side. So knew that was coming, gets the hand out there, gets the D. But then the KHAOS offense as a unit just too willing to throw and put up a 50-50 to coverage in the end zone.
For, again, a receiver that's completely standing still with a defender that's completely standing still. And so it's a game of 500 up.
Yeah, and that really, I believe, has been the downfall of their own making in this game. I mean, we're seeing some great defense played by Titane. Let's not rule out the fact that they are there to put that coverage. They are there to get that up in the air. But, when that is a kind of a yellow light, you really shouldn't throw this throw, or a complete red light, like this is a really bad idea. KHAOS is still taking the shot anyway, right? Yeah. And then, like you're saying, 500 up, I mean, Titane's doing the work.
And Titane is gaining position. They're getting in front and boxing out KHAOS more times than not. And so it's not going in KHAOS's favor at this moment. We do have some fans in the stands cheering for KHAOS, though. So no one has ruled them out of this game yet. A rolling pull to the front corner of the end zone. That's a nice pull. Titane able to get their entire cup down before a first pass comes off from Claxton to Kuromi. Little give go. Hammer over the top. Bryant swinging the disc. Done it. Need that continue. It looked like Latour was almost there, but KHAOS continues just to swing it around. Yeah. There we go. Hammer crossfield. Now, where's the continue? Latour with the continue down the sideline. Much better offense from KHAOS we're seeing here.
What I've been looking for out of their zone offense.
Kuromi now looking for something downfield to get it into the end zone. Handler swinging it back and forth. Claxton again. McMaster being put downfield instead of as a handler, probably to get a little bit more movement downfield. This is definitely Titane's strategy to hold the defense. Oh, big hammer over the top from Claxton to McMaster, captain to captain, for a score. Their Hail Mary over the top did work for them this time.
Now, here's a philosophy question, an ultimate philosophy approach to the game. That wasn't like a stall 9. I'm about to get stalled down. Hammer.
No.
That was like a stall 4. I've got someone open on the break side.
Yes.
Do you coach players not to do that? If
No.
if you got it, you got
Heck
it.
No. I do not coach players not to do that in the double negative sense. So, yes, I know I did say that was a Hail Mary, but I actually do commend that decision from Claxton because McMaster was streaking to the break side. He wasn't standing on the break side waiting for that with his defender. He actually made a cut towards the break side. Claxton put it into space for him. He was able to run onto it. I think that's a great decision. I definitely don't discourage hammers by any means. I think they're a really great tool to have in your pocket to get the disc to the break side just for those exact opportunities.
And I agree. It's if you have it and it's open, take it. We like in Victoria, we call that plan A, because sometimes it's the easiest and most open thing to do. And if someone's got that throw, why not go for it?
Oh, for sure. Ooh. Looks like just a little bit of a foul call there. Mayo and Berard playing a bit of give and go to start with, but just a bit of a trip up. He's okay, and the play will carry on. I think KHAOS is putting the cup on to prevent those little up the line cuts, but the small ball continues to work through the cup, but a travel is called. I have to tend to agree with that travel. It did look like he caught it moving backwards, turned around and continued to take another step, which is a change of direction. So yes, you're allowed to kind of have some fluid movement for those give goes, but that was a change of direction, I believe.
And
so that's a valid travel call.
Particular change of direction did ensue in an advantage, right? Because now you had all the defense behind. They probably could have stayed with the play, but they clearly weren't able to thanks to that travel. So that's the kind where it was, an advantage was given by that travel. You call it.
Berard looking for Berard. Mio. Berard again. There are two Berards. I'm not just saying that name repetitively. And that looks like an overarching throw. What a grab by Mio. Great read on that. He just gets up to the peak height. And Titane are now at 9 to KS's 4.
Mio taking control of that point. He did the give go at the beginning there. He got tripped up a little bit when he was trying to do his give goes, then got a travel called on him. He's like, okay, whatever. And just continued to go speed mode and bring it all the way down like that. And once again, I did say earlier, Phipps had that good heads up D hand block, knowing what was going on with their offense. But what we still haven't seen is any kind of look adjustment change in the way the defense is positioning to shut it down.
No, Titane is really just taking advantage. They're finding that open space and they're cutting into it. And what they're not doing is they're especially in the person D, they're not looking. Titane doesn't really look to break. I haven't seen a lot of breakthrows from Titane. Go ahead.
I got a thing.
Yeah, you got a thing.
So again, this is like what I've noticed from some of the Quebec teams here. And perhaps this has something to do with the 4-on-4 thing you were talking about. The resets, instead of lateral movement, is often vertical movement. So instead of breaking around for a dump swing or anything like that, is to say, no, let's just keep the disc moving forward, because, that's what we're trying to do. And then if we really don't have that option, then we'll resort to the break. So I'm finding that to be a really interesting trend. We're seeing that from Titane a lot, where they're like, well, let's gain some yards or move lateral for a little bit of a loss. They're electing to gain some yards.
And when they go for that up the line cut, if it's not there, that is when they're being stifled. So KHAOS opting to put the zone on to cut those up the line passes, but unfortunately Titane is just finding this space in other ways, and they're now no longer forced to throw an up the line throw to get that yardage that they're wanting. They're just taking the little spaces that are in the zone. If they play zone themselves very well, which they obviously do, that means their offense is going to be well practiced against a zone, because you practice against
yourself.
That's why you got
to practice against it
that's
somewhere.
something you have to think about as a coach. If they're putting down a really effective zone, that means their offense plays a lot of zone offense. So, and here is that zone again. Ooh, a toed grab will be kept in. That was a laser of a throw to Faulkner.
That zone.
KHAOS moving it really quickly. Faulkner going for the bomb again. Gautier's waiting there. Boxes out the KHAOS player again.
Sorry, I kind of jumped the gun there, but I wanted to say the zone D from Titane looking so fast. Catching up to those dump swings so quickly.
Oh, that over-the-top throw to Razo is just knocked out of the air by Bryant. He says, not in my house today. Thank you very much. McMaster for the diving catch, but Beck Havernick getting in the way. A little give-go from Beck Havernick and Lancio. Scuba over the top, resetting to swing, but the swing is too low, and Razo can't quite hold on to it. Plaxton to Karomi. Bryant. Back to Karomi. Do you think that he's going to be patient? Time will tell. Done it. A lot of movement downfield. KHAOS not quite able to clean up their end zone right now. McMaster looked like that it was a bit of a jump in from Dunnett. Travel was called, so he has to reset, but this play is still going. And that is a front corner end zone. Just a really sneaky throw there from Dunnett. And Bryant catches that first point for KHAOS.
A messy end zone set. It seemed not as if anyone didn't know what the cut to make was. Like KHAOS seemed to know what the plan was, except they had players lining up in the same role, if you will. So there were 2 or 3 dumps lining up in the same, 2 or 3 cutters trying to line up in the isolation space. So I don't think KHAOS has obviously an end zone strategy there. But we didn't really see players kind of taking the initiative and saying, I'm this, and communicating with each other. And I often find, when I'm coaching, is that in an end zone set, you tend to set your shoulders and your face just looking at the thrower, especially when you're in the vertical stack, and you don't kind of, bring your shoulders up, bring your chest up, and just say, I'm just going to take a little scan, look around. Where are all my friends? Where's everybody else in the end zone? And that leads to you being able to say, am I in the hot seat right now, or am I going to yield to someone else? And instead, we're just seeing all the players tunnel vision the thrower and be like, have to be the hero.
I was going to say, you know what I call that? I call that the hero complex. It's like, I got to be the guy to save this person. They're stuck outside the end zone. I'm going to go help them. But when you have 6 people on the field saying the exact same thing, it does not work. McMaster with the pull will go out of bounds. Titane, Bryant will be able to, Berard will be able to bring that to the middle of the field at the brick mark. Are we going to see a zone from KHAOS? It kind of looks like it. No, I was wrong. This is a person deep, maybe a little poachy. That might be the best option for them. Well, you have to poach to the right side, though, I would say, if you're going to poach, not the break side. He's kind of standing in no man's land there. Travel called on that throw from Mayo. Oh, no, sorry, that's Sui. Up the line cut again. That's Mayo with the huck. Lots of people underneath it. Too many hands. Titane can't come down with it.
Good clean sky battle there.
It was a clean sky battle.
Yeah,
that's
no
much better, actually.
Collisions.
That spirit timeout really worked. McMaster now for KHAOS. Up to Phipps. Back to McMaster. Irvine. And Lampshire just has to dive to catch that. Unfortunately, just a little bit of a tip drop from Irvine there. Probably thinking about his next throw before completing that. Oh, that was Shoden. My bad. Oh, nice grab for Maya. Oh, there looks to be it looked like he just got a bit tripped up, actually. So just get up and reset. Probably maybe a little bit of a foul, an incidental contact there. But everyone's close. Okay. Yeah. Good hands on Mayo for catching that. And Berard in the end zone for the score. It is now 10-5 for Titane. Defense on KHAOS is still doing a good job at generating those opportunities, but they just haven't been able to convert enough of them.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one. Like it's kind of the plight of every defensive line. Yeah. Right? It's typically on teams, especially younger teams. Well, let's put it this way. On most new teams, your O-line is going to be your players with the best disc skills. Not necessarily your flashiest or most athletic players, but the ones that have the best decision-making and probably the surest hands, right? And
work well together.
And work as a unit really well. While your defensive players are your gritty grinders, right? You put them out there and you're like, go get it done, energy, hunger, and they're there, but then they don't get a lot of practice at translating that into, okay, now that I've, had this really ragey outlook and getting the disc, which is great energy. And then it's like, well, now how do I switch, calm down, focus, have that cold fire to get the offense done, right? And I think, honestly, we're just seeing a lot of that from the defensive group from KHAOS today, of having a hard time flipping that switch.
That is a beautiful pull from Beck Havernick. Claxton and McMaster and Bryant working the disc up. Karomi now taking advantage and moving it quickly through the zone. That's probably an adjustment that they made. This is a bit of a different zone that we're seeing from Titane. It's not their 4-person cup. It's now a 3-person cup. Bryant, Claxton, McMaster. So KHAOS is having a little bit of an easier time through this 3-person zone. I'm curious as to the switch up from Titane.
It could be an opportunity to try, let's stick with our zone because it's working, but maybe let's try a different set, get some practice on it as we have a pretty commanding lead.
We've got Latour like asking for it in the back corner. Karomi decides to give it to him, even though it's a questionable decision. It will be caught because it looked like Gauthier was covering someone else. I call that one a false positive.
A little bit. The throw was a dime.
It was a dime throw. You're right. Karomi on with the dime throw, absolutely.
But you're right. You don't want to say, like we were talking earlier about hammers and everything, of like, well, if everybody's on the open side, someone's wide open on the break side, you've got that throw and it's good. Great. There, you're throwing into a pretty busy section of the field. You're throwing it at stall 8, right? So that's got a lot more of that desperation feeling behind it. I mean, that's the same as saying I'll just put it up and I hope someone gets it. But luckily the execution from Karomi there, I mean, that came off crisp.
I mean, any margin of error in that throw at all, and that's going to be Deed.
Yeah.
And Karomi showing that he has had a disc in his hand since he was a small child. Both of his parents play, both of his parents coach. So that shows with his disc skills right there that he's got it on the dime throw.
Yeah, the Kelowna coaches, Blackson, Karomi, and McMaster, all with children on the team, the dad squad coaching KHAOS.
We did hear the horn for hard cap go for the other fields. Our team, or this game, will be given an extra 5 minutes due to that Spirit timeout earlier in the game. KHAOS looking like they have tried to put a 3-person cup, but they cannot keep up with Titane's fast movement. So the containment just isn't there. Berard just moving the disc super quickly to one another. Duran back to Berard. But I think KHAOS's players that they've been playing all game are just so tired they cannot keep up with this play from Titane, and they just work it tick-tock down the field, and a score in the end zone to Sui. It was a travel called, though, on the throw.
It looked to me, I think Latour has a point here, because I felt that was one of those throws. It might have actually been thrown from inside the end zone. Yeah, the pivot foot was set on the line of the end zone and the toes dragged to the inside of the end zone. On the other hand, I don't think it matters.
No, I don't know if it gave him much an advantage.
No, it didn't. It was a throw. Yeah, no travel, calling them in. And I mean, the throw was to someone who wasn't covered. He threw it without a mark. Had he not dragged that toe a little bit, would it have changed anything? The flip side, though, I mean, and as we kind of get used to these new rules, is then the other question is, well, is it always an advantage when they score on a throw? Right? Is any throw, any assist for the goal, that in where you travel, always an advantage? I mean, that's an interesting way to look at it, right? So I don't know. It's going to take some time to figure these things out.
I mean, in that case, I'm going to say no. There was no advantage there. There was no mark close to him being able to put on a mark whether or not he traveled. Like if he was an inch backwards or 2 inches backwards, there's no mark there anyway.
Yeah.
And there's no mark on the downfield cutter either. KHAOS was just struggling to keep up with Titane for that entire point. Titane was just blazing downfield. You could see the faces of the players on KHAOS. They're tired. It's been a lot of the same players for most of the game. and they're trying to play defense. They're trying to keep up to every throw the same way that Titane has on their zone, and KHAOS just doesn't have that skill yet.
Well, you theory crafters out there, you rule nerds, you can bake on that one for a while, right up until Ultimate Canada's Andrew Batchelor just tells us all what is law. So
getting down into the final 5 minutes of the game. Nice hanging pull from Titane. Plaxton goes up for the catch. Bryant now. Done it. Oh, we're seeing a person defense from Titane, not their typical zone. McMaster going up to catch that so that Beck Haverneck doesn't have a chance on it. Karomi. Latour. Back to McMaster. Reins it in. Done it. Showing his patience with the disc. Karomi to Latour. Claxton looking for Latour, streaking up the line, but Gauthier waiting for it there. Benoit now for Titane. Beck Haverneck. Oh, and Bryant got a piece of that, and we saw a bid there from Gauthier on that second attempt, but he can't do it. Bryant immediately picks up, looks for the end zone, and I have to say it did look like 3 may have had a little bit too much contact on that receiving end. So we'll see what the observers say. Foul was called by Benoit there. But I was wrong. I do not have best perspective. So I guess it was just a really good box out. So Linda saying no foul on that receiving end. So KHAOS will get a score, and that puts them at 7 to Titane's 10.
Now we are at 10 o'clock, so I believe that is the conclusion of the game.
Oh, one more point. I saw the observer signal.
Okay, last point.
Yes.
Last point. Here we go.
Although at this point, they don't really need to play it out. Although I don't know if point differential matters for this crossover game. I don't think that it does.
I don't think so. But, I mean, you like to keep things official just in case. Sometimes that gives tournament directors better ideas of matchups. And you know what? It actually can affect seeding next year, right? Looking at the scores and everything. So I think you play it out officially because everything can come down to 1 point.
And plus, the whole reason we're all here is to have fun. And these two teams do look like they are having a lot of fun out there. Every point has been really a hard battle for each team, and they want to keep the fun times.
Why not? That's what we're here for. I'm going to take this opportunity then, since we're still playing, to call out KHAOS's Brian for one thing. He made a great defensive play. I don't like that he picked it up and threw it right away, because I think that has been one of the things. I mean, we've talked about a few things, but that is another impulsive decision trend that KHAOS has been making today that's been hurting their game.
And it turned into what I like to call a false positive.
Exactly.
A happy thing that happened when it was not the best decision. Titane moving the disc up through person defense from KHAOS. Giguère just throws it a little bit too far for Mayo.
Mayo, as soon as he saw that, I just saw him exclaim that he was frustrated. He didn't have the wheels to get to that one, a little too low.
Karomi now with the disc for KHAOS. Finds Bryant. And a lot of those players that are waiting too deep for KHAOS, but Latour staying shallow was the one that comes in and gets it. Bryant, I thought he was gonna jack it. I really did. But good decision to dump it back to Dunnett. McMaster downfield, big gainer there. Back to Bryant. Oh, a nice grab by Faulkner, getting up for that disc, not letting his defender get a piece of that.
Faulkner has been solid this game in making those plays.
I mean, we're now seeing some of the patience that I've wanted to see from KHAOS all game, and it's on the last point.
And it doesn't look like Titane's defense is letting up either.
Oh,
Case in point.
yeah. Case in point. A layout D. That was a great layout D. I'm trying to read his number. It was Duran. Great layout D from Duran. Perard now with the disc. And that really typical up the line cut. Mayo couldn't quite keep the edge that he wanted on that disc. So KHAOS now bringing it back up the field. McMaster, big huck, looking for Faulkner in the end zone. He's going to have to tow it. Unfortunately, he didn't quite tow it. He's out of bounds. That's exciting, though.
That was great heads up by Faulkner. I mean, like I was saying, he has just come up with some great grabs this game. That was such a good effort.
Duran now with the disc. Scuba over the top to Giguère. Continues with a nice dump swing and a huck from Uhl. Karomi and Mayo battling for the disc. Mayo comes out on top, and that is a score to Durand for the final point of the game and the win for Titane. Final score 11-7.
Well, woo. An exciting game. I mean, it was action-packed. We talked about some of the things that we wanted to see KHAOS doing more of to adapt. We were talking about a really great zone set by Titane, and they're great running on offense and everything. So while Titane was clearly in control of this game pretty early on and kept that control the whole time, KHAOS never let up and gave us such a good game to feature today.
They're such a fun team and a fun energy to be around. This is their first year in Inception and their first time, obviously, at Canadian Nationals. That's a pretty exciting thing to be able to accomplish in and of itself. So their energy was high this entire game, even though they were never in the lead. And that's really a great thing to see.
So next,
we will have another game for you on the stream very shortly here at 10:30. We're going to have our women's game, Toro versus Titane women's. So come back very shortly here, about half an hour. We'll kick off with that game in sunny BC. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Troy and Clay, and we will see you on the field.